Level 1. The cadet. You're 21. The police academy application asked why you wanted to do this. You wrote 3 sentences. Your academy instructor, a sergeant named Briggs, who had 20 years on patrol before a knee ended it, told you on the first day that whatever reason you wrote down was probably wrong, not dishonest, just incomplete. The real reason, he said, reveals itself later. You don't know what he means yet. 6 months. Criminal law, defensive tactics, firearms qualification, emergency vehicle operation, report writing, which Briggs treats with the same seriousness as everything else. A report that doesn't hold, he tells you, is worse than no report. It gives the defense something to use. You write every practice report twice. The second version is always better. You graduate in the upper quarter of your class. Nobody tells you that matters. The ones who have been doing this long enough know that the academy measures a different thing than the job does. Level 2. The patrol officer. You're 23. You are assigned to the 3rd district in a mid-sized city with a violent crime rate that keeps the department staffed beyond comfortable levels. Your field training officer is a 10-year veteran named Delacroix who drives with one hand and observes everything with the other. He teaches you to read a block the way a doctor reads a face. What belongs and what doesn't. What has changed since the last pass. What the body language of the man on the corner is actually saying versus what the man on the corner thinks it's saying. Your first death scene is a natural. An elderly man in an apartment on the 4th floor. No foul play. But you process it like a crime scene anyway because Delacroix tells you to. You document the room. You note the position. You photograph before anything is touched. Afterward, Delacroix tells you most patrol officers stop seeing after the first year. The job teaches you to stop seeing because seeing costs something and the job never stops asking you to pay it. Your only defense, he says, is to keep paying deliberately. You hold on to that. Level 3. The detective. You're 27. The detective's exam, the interview, the assignment, property crimes first, which is also common and also intentional. You learn to build a case from thin evidence, a partial print, a pawn shop receipt, a surveillance image where the subject's face is never fully visible, but their shoes are. You close 60% of your cases. The unit average is 44. Your supervisor, a lieutenant named Garrity, moves you to homicide after 18 months without explaining why. You don't ask. The move explains itself. Your first homicide case as lead detective is a shooting in a parking structure. 1 victim. No witnesses willing to speak on record. A shell casing. Partial tire track. And a victim whose life, when you begin to reconstruct it, is more complicated than the initial canvas suggested. You work it for 4 months. You close it in month 5. The prosecution takes 2 years. You testify twice. The conviction holds. Garrity says nothing when the verdict comes in. He puts the file in the closed drawer in front of you. That is enough. Level 4. The senior detective. You're 32. You have worked 23 homicide cases, closed 19. The 4 that remain open live in a drawer you open every few months when something new is possible. Nothing is ever fully closed inside you. The files are closed. The cases are not. You have learned to carry that without letting it become weight that slows the current work. A case comes in that the department calls sensitive. A victim connected to city government. Pressure from above to resolve it quickly. You work it exactly as you would work any case. The pressure is noted. The pressure is set aside. The evidence goes where the evidence goes. It goes somewhere inconvenient for 2 people above your pay grade. You document everything and submit your findings in writing without editorial. Garrity backs you completely. The case is closed correctly. One of the 2 inconvenienced people files a complaint against your methodology. The complaint is reviewed and dismissed. Nobody apologizes. You didn't expect one. Level 5. The lead detective. You're 37. You are the most experienced active detective in the homicide unit. Junior detectives bring you their cases not because they are required to, but because you have a reputation for finding the thing they missed. You don't find it for them. You ask questions until they find it themselves. A detective named OC, 2 years out of patrol, sharp and impatient, comes to you on a case that has stalled. He has good instincts and has followed all of them and is now standing in a room with no door. You ask him one question. What does the victim's last ordinary day look like hour by hour? He hasn't built that timeline. He builds it that afternoon. The door appears by evening. You don't tell him the question was the answer. He'll understand that later. Level 6. The Detective Sergeant. You're 41. You supervise the unit now. 12 detectives. Their cases are your cases, in the way that a conductor's mistakes are the orchestra's sound. You review every active investigation weekly. You track the ones stalling and apply pressure in the right places at the right time. Not all pressure, specific pressure. There is a difference between a case that needs more resources and a case that needs a different question. You have learned to tell them apart, and the learning cost you several years of getting it wrong first. A young detective loses a witness to intimidation. Preventable. The detective knew the witness was vulnerable and didn't escalate the protection request in time. You sit with him in a closed office and you walk through the timeline together without raising your voice. He sees the moment he should have moved. You don't underline it. He will underline it himself every day for the rest of his career. That is sufficient. Level 7. The Lieutenant. You're 46. You command the Homicide Division. You attend command staff meetings and translate the division's reality upward and translate department priorities downward and manage the gap between the two, which is where most of the actual work lives. A cold case unit initiative comes through, requiring detectives to dedicate 20% of their time to cases older than 10 years. The math does not work against your current caseload. You say so in writing with specific numbers. The allocation is adjusted to 12%. The cold cases get worked. 3 close in the first year. Level 8. The Captain. You're 50. You command the Investigative Bureau. Homicide, robbery, sex crimes, financial crimes. 200 detectives and support staff. You are no longer close enough to the cases to feel them directly. You feel them through the people who do. A detective on the sex crimes unit requests a leave of absence. The paperwork cites personal reasons. You call her supervisor. Then you call her directly. The conversation takes 40 minutes. She takes the leave. She comes back. She is still one of the best detectives in the bureau. That phone call cost you 40 minutes and returned you a career. Level 9. The end of the line. You're 54. The retirement dinner is at a restaurant chosen by people who know you well enough to know you didn't want anything formal. 31 years. The cases closed are counted. The ones that aren't are not mentioned because the people in this room understand that those stay open and always will. Briggs, your academy instructor, is 81 now and came anyway. He shakes your hand and says the reason reveals itself eventually. You tell him it revealed itself around year 4 and has been clarifying ever since. He says, that's about right. You drive home alone through the city. You have spent 3 decades reading block by block. The streets are the same streets. You still read them. You always will. That is not a burden. That is what 31 years built inside you, and you would not trade the weight of it for anything simpler. Briggs said the real reason reveals itself later. Subscribe, and stay in the rooms where it does. The streets keep getting read long after the shift ends, so do the stories.